the Nanadosed Podcast.
The Nanadosed Podcast. Nanadosas, we are back with another episode. Actually, we're about to continue the episode which we last published, and that was our immigrant parents providing adequate holistic development for their children. Now, if you haven't checked out that episode, which was part 1, please to scroll up and click on that episode. That was episode 5, and you go listen to that episode. It was actually very, very informative. I have gotten a lot of feedback on that particular episode. In fact, so far that episode has been the most listened episode so far. Can you believe that? And so I want to thank everybody who has been tuning in week after week and listening and just enjoying my weirdly sounding voice and just really, going with the flow and just tuning in and really rocking the boat with me. I appreciate it. I've always said it to you guys, and I will forever say it. I appreciate it. And without further ado, we are going to continue what was promised. So, our immigrant parents providing adequate holistic development for their children. We answered that question last week and realized that a lot of parents are migrating to first world countries. They're moving towards the opportunities where they can enably provide for their children, you know what I mean? And sometimes it comes at a sacrifice, really, because it's not that they don't want to be around their kids, but they want their kids to grow comfortably. They want their kids not to be dependent on anybody. And we all know that feeling, especially when we're transitioning from childhood or adolescence into adulthood, that phase where we don't want to depend on mommy or daddy for anything anymore. We all go through that phase, and likewise, we want your kids to mirror that action, not to depend on auntie or uncle for anything, for any phone, for any gadgets, for basic needs. We want to be able to adequately, sufficiently provide for our child. And that comes at a cost usually. It's unfortunate, but it comes at a cost. And so I want to really look at this topic because I've been thinking about it, and these children are usually affected, their emotional sides, their spiritual side. Something always off with these kids because something is just missing. Mom and dad, they're missing from their lives, and as parents, we have let me rephrase that because I'm not yet a parent, and as parents, you have, or they have they have the responsibility to nurture as well. And nurturing and a baby work. Nurturing takes time. When we think about nurturing, we think about education, especially in the preliminary stages of a child. Whoosh! The ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s. Imagine you're just having a child and you've gone to the US, you've gone to Canada, you've gone to UK, so you're gonna make life better for you and your kid. I mean, I get the point of view, but I believe that at certain stages of a child's life, you have to be very, very, very selective in when you decide to take up yourself and migrate. You have to be very strategic. You have to be very intentional in the time that you choose to migrate and solely provide for your child. I think the timing is the difference between a rounded child and a needing child. The timing of migration for the parent is very important in producing a rounded child and a needing child. For me, I think the best time to migrate after having a child is after the child becomes a teenager. I think by that time you would have instilled all the necessary principles. The child will have grown to understand life, not in full, but understand the premises, the basic premises of life. They would be able to understand, most importantly, why mommy and daddy they left. So at that age, I believe, where you can really talk to them and have a mutual understanding relationship, you can express your feelings, they can fully express theirs, they can explain to you why they would or why they wouldn't want you to leave. There would be some sort of understanding, some mutual understanding. And so I think that's the perfect age to migrate, if you're really thinking of migrating. Now, if the child has grown into adulthood, even so, even the better. The older the child gets, it's the better for the child and it's better for the parent. That's my point of view. But the younger the child is, it becomes very harder. It becomes a challenge. It becomes challenging for both, because we want to see our children grow. We want to see them develop, and we are at a disadvantage when we migrate too early. We don't understand the personality of our children. We don't get to understand fully how our child reasons, how our child behaves. Things like that we miss out on, and it's very critical that we engage in those stuff while we can. While you're parents, it's absolutely important to engage in those things. Now, I had some non-lactose express, which is better, to nurture or to provide. Take a listen.
At the age of 12, my mother decided that she wanted to improve her life by traveling overseas to work. And at that age, I was actually placed in a position where I had to start fending for myself, making decisions, even though I had family support. At that age, my sister was younger, much younger. So I became a role model. I became a part-time parent. But it's not something that I looked at as a negative thing, because it has also groomed me in who I am today. Growing up, it was much harder than normal because everyone else had their parents around them and they could throw out any issues that they were having to their parents, so they had that bond. My mother ensured that we had that bond from million miles away. I know of friends who it has affected them negatively. For me, I appreciate it because it has groomed me in a way that I learned to appreciate the small things in life. It has also allowed me to become a fighter. So because of how I saw how my mother had to work to ensure that we were comfortable and we got everything that we needed in her eyes, it has created that stepping stone for you to study a little harder in accomplishing more. Should a parent have to choose? No, I don't believe we do have to choose, but it all depends on where you're coming from and where you want to go.
Really and truly, in the third world country, it's really hard to provide for your kids. You even have to provide for yourself, much less when you have children. So if it be the case where you're in Jamaica and you're struggling to find a daily meal, and an opportunity present itself, then by all means go for it. But at the same time, you have to make sure that you have somebody responsible. That's one of the main things. You have to tick off certain things before you say yes, and you're fully 100% to go overseas, committed to go overseas. So you have to, number one, you have to make sure that there's somebody responsible, right? So if the child have a father in his or her life, or maybe a grandmother who's trustworthy and who's capable or a family member. It don't have to be, but somebody who you know that is really capable and won't abuse your child and take advantage of your child and so forth. So you have to look into those things first. If it's a case where you can't find anybody suitable within your mind to leave your child with, then no, it's best you stay here and you try the best way that you can to really grow up your child in the best way as possible. Then the next thing is, now while you're over there, you want to make sure that you're still in the development of your child, right? Don't gone and you might come back every 2 years or on one phone call this month, and you want to make sure that even though you're not here physically, you're there with them.
So far, I can see we're on the same page because for the most part, we're saying the same thing. Because this comment from another one of my nanadosas is in the same path, is on the same trajectory as what was mentioned before. And this nanadosa's response regarding should immigrant parents have to choose between nurture and provision, her response was this. Well, this is a very, very difficult question to answer, but from my perspective, the negatives outweigh the positives. I am not a parent yet, but I can somehow understand both as a parent and as a child. I believe that a child should be raised in a family with both parents and that they are to be present for every stage of their lives. I can also understand the parent has to do whatever it takes to provide for the child or children, but what is the financial support over the child's mental and emotional health? You can financially be there for the child, but it won't fill the gap of having parents' emotional support. Yeah, it could be the case where one of the parents has to leave. It could be the mother, it could be the father, but either way, the child needs both parents to teach, to protect, and to nurture. It could also be a single parent living with their child or children, leaving them behind with other relatives to care for, and oftentimes they're abused, neglected, and can be scarred for life by trusted family members. Now, small details matter to the child. Being present for their birthday, when they have school projects, when they have accomplished an A in their favorite subject, knowing their favorite color, knowing their favorite food, etc. It doesn't matter if you pay the bills. Not being present for your child is not right, especially if it's a case where a parent leaves for years without plans of having their child return unto them. And that's the opinions of those persons who have first-hand experienced what it is and what it feels like, the emotions behind a migrating parent. Really and truly, guys, we shouldn't have to decide which one we should do because both are of equal importance. Nurturing the child is just as important as providing for the child. We understand that resources are needed, and we understand that we need to get where we want to get with these resources, right? But as I said before, if we were to choose between nurture and providing, nurture the child with the resources you have until the child is of age. And believe me, new opportunities will present itself once you make yourself available to receive and to actually find and seek these opportunities. Things will come to you, but you have to search for it. You have to make yourself known. You have to make yourself aware of these opportunities. So that's my 1 and 2 cents. To be honest, you have to search for the resources in order to have a better life, quote unquote. And understand that here in Jamaica, a third world country, we might think that though the resources are limited and we may believe that, well, we're not going to be able to prosper, chase after our dreams, and raise a child efficiently. And though that may be true, we will survive. And if you can survive up to age 13, instilling principles, as I said before, into your children or into that child, you would have accomplished and you would have reached a milestone in your life. That is my 1 and 2 cents. You would have nurtured such a disciplined individual and you would have instilled all the core values that you would want your child to ultimately have. And that, once more, is one of the greatest accomplishments a parent could ever accomplish. Speaking wonderfully on behalf of my beautiful parents. And so wait until the child reaches a certain age, then you can decide to migrate. And hey, this is another option. You can even decide to carry the child with you. So if you want to migrate when the child is younger, fine, but ensure that the child goes with you. That solves all the problems. You are not able to nurture the child and provide for the child efficiently after migrating. And so that's beautiful, and that is all I have to say in regarding to nurture, to provide. Thank you for listening to this continuing episode. Thank you for listening, and we will meet again next week. Family, you have been Nandos.